Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the first episode of Sudan In Focus, weekly news magazine, which focuses on Sudan news and events, aiming to give Sudan TV audience a broad and first-hand information about what is going on in Sudan. So let's go.
Sudan Army ends 2-year siege of key city. The Sudanese army says it has broken a near 2-year siege imposed by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF on the key North Kordofan state capital Al-Ubaid. The breakthrough came hours after the RSF signed a political charter in the Kenyan capital Nairobi to establish a breakaway government in areas under its control. Al-Ubaid is a strategic hub connecting the capital Khartoum to Darfur. This is the latest army advance in recent weeks following the recapture of several parts of Khartoum from the RSF. There was jubilation on the streets as Sudanese soldiers marched into the city. A military spokesman, Nabil Abdullah, confirmed the gains in a statement saying army forces have destroyed RSF units. Finance Minister Jibril Ibrahim said the move was a massive step in lifting the RSF siege of Al-Fashir, the capital of North Darfur state, and would also allow the delivery of humanitarian aid to Kordofan. Sudanese civil society activist Dalia Abdelmonem told the BBC that the recapture of the city was huge and significant, adding that the RSF had held the civilians captive for nearly 2 years in the city, so the situation there was horrific, adding that there had been no medical or food aid in an area considered to be very risky in terms of famine and malnutrition. She said she hoped more aid would now be allowed in. The latest fighting around Al-Fashir have forced medical charity Doctors Without Borders (MSF) to halt operations at Zamzam, a famine-stricken camp nearby, which houses about 500,000 displaced people. MSF said it was a heartbreaking decision, but it had little choice because it was too dangerous for its staff to operate there. Respect for Sudan's sovereignty and territorial integrity is vital for a sustainable end to this war, UK statement at the UN Security Council. A statement by Ambassador Barbara Woodward, UK permanent representative to the UN at the UN Security Council meeting on Sudan. She highlighted 3 priorities. First, we share the Secretary General's deep concern at the announcement by the Rapid Support Forces and affiliate civilian actors and armed groups of a political charter that expresses an intention to establish a government authority in areas of their control. Deepened divisions risk even further destabilization in Sudan and the region. Respect for Sudan's charter rights, its unity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity is vital and will be necessary for a sustainable end to this war. In April, my Foreign Secretary will invite foreign ministers from some 20 states and international organizations to London for a discussion focused on supporting a peaceful way forward for the Sudanese people. Second, the decision by Sudanese armed forces to keep the Adri border crossing open is welcome, but with over 30 million people in humanitarian need, it is simply not enough. We urge Sudan armed forces to open Adri permanently and authorize the use of further regional border crossings. Third, we reiterate the Council calls for the Rapid Support Forces to end their siege on Al-Fashir and cease all attacks on civilians and civilian infrastructure. We call on both parties to protect civilians in line with their obligations under the Jeddah Declaration. Sudan is a flashpoint with growing risk of war crimes, UN warns. Telling the UN Human Rights Council, Volker Turk described a horrific situation which is the result of serious and flagrant violations of international humanitarian and human rights law and a culture of total impunity. Recent moves to establish government authority in areas controlled by the paramilitary forces (RSF) are likely to deepen divisions and increase the risk of continued hostilities. Mr. Turk added, following a series of attacks attributed to the Rapid Support Forces around Al-Gatena in White Nile State last week. Shocking reports have emerged of hundreds of people killed and others raped and abducted, he said. People have been attacked because of their identity, often drawing on past divisions along ethnic and tribal lines. At the same time, hate speech and incitement to violence are increasing tensions and polarization. Since Sudan is located at the crossroads of several sub-regions, this conflict poses a serious threat to peace and stability in the Horn of Africa, the Sahel, and beyond. Mr. Turk warned, noting that the continued supply of weapons from outside the country also poses a serious risk. Mr. Turk therefore urged countries to use their influence to exert diplomatic and political pressure on the belligerents as well as on their regional and international allies in order to obtain a ceasefire. They must also ensure that the arms embargo is respected. UN faces concerns over Sudan paramilitary's charter. UN Security Council members expressed deep concern Wednesday over the announcement earlier this week by the Sudanese paramilitary Rapid Support Forces that it plans to establish a parallel governing authority in parts of the country under its control. This is a dangerous, deep step that follows further fragmentation in Sudan and derail ongoing efforts toward peace and dialogue, said Algeria. The Algeria Deputy Ambassador Tawfiq Kudri, on behalf of the 3 African members of the Council, plus Guyana, said, "We call for these actions to be reversed and urge RSF and their allies to put the unity and national interests of Sudan above all other considerations." Council diplomats said the African members, Algeria, Sierra Leone, and Somalia, have proposed a draft statement for the Council's consideration, expressing grave concern over the development, reaffirming its commitment to Sudan's unity and urging the parties to engage in negotiations. It would require the consensus of all 50 members. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned on Monday that the RSF move could deepen the nearly 2-year-old civil war. Nearly every council member expressed concern and disapproval of the RSF's move. In this regard, the U.S. political coordinator John Kelly said, attempts by the RSF and aligned actors to establish a government in RSF-controlled territory in Sudan are unhelpful for the cause of peace and security in Sudan and risk a de facto partition of the country. Respect for Sudan's UN Charter rights, its unity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity is vital and will be necessary for a sustainable end to this war, said British Ambassador Barbara Woodward. South Korea's envoy warned on the potential consequences of fragmented Sudan, which is the continent's third largest country by size and home to 50 million people. The disintegration of such a vast, large nation would have profound and lasting ramifications and repercussions on the peace and prosperity of neighboring states and the wider region, said Ambassador Wang Junhook. Sudan's envoy Al-Harith criticized Kenya for allowing the signing of the RSF's charter in its country, saying the agreement seeks to dismantle his country. The Sudanese armed forces-backed authorities have presented their own roadmap for ending the war that includes an inclusive national dialogue, the formation of a caretaker transition government, and the selection of a civilian prime minister. We call on the United Nations and the UN Secretary General's personal Sudan envoy to support this roadmap because it is the practical and realistic means to end the crisis. On Monday, the RSF announced a new assault on North Darfur's embattled capital Al-Fashir, which is still held by the Sudanese military, but any ceasefire is rejected if Al-Fashir's siege is not lifted, said Al-Harith. The rebels within any agreement must withdraw from the areas they continue to occupy because they target civilians and deliberately kill them. Sudan, UN Security Council concerned about creation of parallel government. Coincidentally, the Security Council met on the war in Sudan while the World Food Programme (WFP) announced that it was suspending its operations in Zamzam displacement camp in the west of the country. The camp is nevertheless struck by famine, but the violence on the fighting since the attack by the paramilitary of the Rapid Support Forces (RSF) on 11 February has forced it to repatriate its team. The UN Office for Humanitarian Affairs explained that in all of history, the organization has never had to solicit countries to support Sudan to meet the needs of 21 million Sudanese in 2025. It must raise $6 billion. The record reflects the worsening of the humanitarian situation since the start of the fighting in April 2023. Sudan War. Any peace deal must respect national sovereignty, UN envoy. In an exclusive interview with the UN News Arabic Service in New York, Ramatan al-Amamra stated that the solution must be political, calling for reliance on wisdom and the ability to deal with the root causes that led to the brutal conflict. He affirmed that the Sudanese people are sovereign and have the final say in their future. Mr. Ramadan expressed the deterioration situation in Sudan and the challenges facing peace effort, noting that he is making every effort to convince the warring parties and decision makers that the only solution is one that stems from their shared political will. Mr. Al-Amamra urged the Sudanese to learn from the lessons of past experiences, stating that ongoing efforts to reach a peaceful solution must take place within the context of respecting sovereignty, independence, and unity, both of the people and the land. I believe that this is the fundamental and indisputable, he said. As for the United Nations and for myself personally, I will continue to reiterate and insist on this point because it is essential as we want to emerge from this ordeal with a strong and unified Sudan, a Sudan that learns from the lessons of its temporary historical experiences and makes the necessary decisions so that the mistakes that led to the outbreak of wars in the recent past, including the current war, are not repeated. He also mentioned the roadmap that was issued in Port Sudan on 9 February, which he said the UN chief welcomed and asked all interested Sudanese to share their ideas for possible inclusion, and this would facilitate the necessary discussions or to rebuild a cohesive and unified Sudanese state. The Secretary General's personal envoy stated that building on the current proposal is the next step that he is ready to take, despite its sensitivity and difficulty. He emphasized that the need for coordination among the various initiatives proposed to reach a comprehensive national dialogue in Sudan. In this regard, Mr. Amamra called on the international community to assume its responsibilities and coordinate efforts to support peace in Sudan. Gashaga accuses Ruto of business dealings with Sudan's RSF chief. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gashaga has alleged business dealings between President William Ruto and Rapid Support Forces RSF chief Mohammed Daglo. Gashaga claimed Ruto has prioritized his commercial interests over Kenya's national interests. Gashaga claims that smugglers are transporting gold from Sudan to Kenya for onward exports to Dubai. He expressed deep concern over Ruto's alleged disregard for Kenya's international standing and warned that the president's actions could permanently damage the country's diplomatic relations. He rebuked Ruto for hosting leaders of the Sudanese paramilitary group, stating that the president has messed up his country and tarnished Kenya's international reputation by allowing the RSF to operate within its borders. He claims that meeting between Ruto and Hemeti seemed to have no connection to Kenya's national interests. In all fairness, President William Ruto has damaged this country's reputation on the global stage. He is making all the wrong decisions. We have a policy of non-interference in the affairs of other countries. We cannot allow rebels who have been sanctioned internationally for genocide to meet in government facilities in Nairobi. Gachagua spoke on the matter as the Kenyan government faced scrutiny for allowing the RSF to hold a meeting at the Kenyatta International Convention Center (KICC) in Nairobi.
President of the Transitional Sovereignty Council, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, received on Wednesday an official invitation from the Secretary General of the United Nations and the Spanish Prime Minister to participate in the high-level meeting on financing for development, which will be held in the Spanish city of Seville. This comes when he received the Spanish ambassador to Sudan, Isidro Antonio, who delivered the invitation in the presence of the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MFA, Ambassador Hussein Al-Amin Al-Fadil. The MFA Secretary explained in a press statement that TSC President expressed his appreciation for Spanish positive positions in support of the unity and stability of Sudan, pointing out Spain's rejections of attempts to fragment the unity and integrity of Sudanese territories, indicating that Spain is one of the main partners in the field of development in Sudan and has a number of projects, explaining that the Spanish ambassador held several meetings with officials in various ministries to discuss the possibility of the Spanish economic sector participating in reconstruction projects in Sudan in the post-war period. The Spanish ambassador explained that during the meeting, he presented a joint invitation letter from the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and the Spanish President Sanchez to TSC President to attend the high-level United Nations conference to be held in Spain in June. He said that his country looks forward to the participation of President Al-Burhan in the conference. Minister of Culture and Information Khalid Al-Aiser met Wednesday with the British delegation led by Mr. Michael Melanson, a member of the Royal Architects Council, the main partner in the project to protect living heritage in Sudan in partnership with the British Museum, Cambridge University and British Institute for East Africa. The meeting discussed participation to complete the plan to open Heritage Village in Kassala City in the cooperation with Ministry of Culture and Information, Mr. Khalid Al-Aiser, to recover looted Sudanese antiquities and help in preparing a detailed list of looted items from Sudanese museums, in addition to preparing a comprehensive and accurate report on the extent of the destruction that befall Sudanese museums, antiquities, and historical collections. It's worth noted that the Royal Architects Council and its partners contribute to the rehabilitation of more than 12 Sudanese museums. Member of Transitional Sovereignty Council, Assistant Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Engineer Ibrahim Jaber, has affirmed the government's keenness and full commitment to work to overcome all obstacles and challenges facing the work in the country in the post-war phase. His Excellency stressed during his meeting in his office on Monday with Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations and Regional Director of Arab States at the United Nations Development Programme, Abdullah Al-Durdiri, the need for concerted efforts and joint coordination between Sudan and United Nations agencies, enhanced development, expressing his thanks to United Nations Development Programme, which pledged to work on development, reconstructions, and rehabilitation projects. For his part, the regional director of the United Nations Development Programme explained that the meeting discussed preparation for the early recovery and construction phase in Sudan, pointing out the importance of continuing humanitarian action in conjunction with the development process. Ad-Dardir explained that he briefed TSC member of the outcomes of the meetings he held with ministers and officials regarding planning and securing funding for investments in the integrated local development programs.
Al-Karu archaeological area is located approximately 4 kilometers north of the Sudanese capital, Khartoum, and is considered one of the most important archaeological sites in Sudan. Al-Karu served as a royal burial ground in the Kingdom of Kush, and its importance dates back to the Naptan period, 9000 and 3000 BC, when a number of Kushite kings and queens were buried there. The area is also characterized by the presence of small pyramids and royal graves dug into the rock, some of which are decorated with inscriptions and drawings illustrating the funerary ritual of that era. There are also tombs on the site belonging to King Ba'anchi. In addition, the region is witnessing great interest from archaeologists because it contains distinctive cultural monuments that reflect the strength and development of the Kushite kingdom. The graves date back to the era of Pharaoh Shinchi, 850 BC. The upper part of the city includes 4 graves, and to the north across the northern valley there are 6 graves. The entrance to the tomb was built with the red bricks measuring 3 centimeters so that the waters of the Jabal al-Barkal would not enter it. Foreigners discovered 4 rooms under this mountain, which is located east of Tanont Amni Cemetery. In the upper part of the city there are 4 graves, 1, 2, 4, 5, and to the north across the northern valley there are 6 graves, and to the east there is a row of 8 small pyramids. In the far south of this row is the pyramid of King Kushite, and it is possible that the same pyramid contains the body of his wife, Queen Bahami. In front of this row there is another row of pyramids containing the graves of the kings, the Harga, Shepka, and Tont Amni.
Allah للشامة خديرة للشامة مرسومة للشامة الوسامة